And talk today in this session about shaky head versus drop shot. And those are two techniques that I fish quite a bit. I get a lot of questions on that, and I get a lot of questions like, how do you know when to throw one versus the other? Well, that's kind of what we're going to go through today. And I'll show you a little bit about now I put on there shaky head versus drop shot, figuring out the numbers. And that's what I call the shaky head and the drop shot. It's in the numbers category. People say, oh, they're little fish baits. Sometimes they try to categorize the shaky head and drop shot as little fish baits. And I say that's the wrong terminology, the wrong way to look at it. It's the numbers bait. And once you understand how to utilize that tool of a shaky head and a drop shot, once you understand how to utilize that tool, it's a numbers bait. It'll catch everything in that area. And you can catch. If there's 12 inchers in that area, you'll catch those. If there's 3-pounders, you'll catch those. If there's 6-pounders, you'll catch them too. You just have to figure out how to utilize them. So, we talked about 8-pound test, dock fishing. That's what I said is really good at. And I get asked a lot, hey man, how do you get those fish out of those docks? You hook a 4-pounder under a dock on 8-pound test. How do you get them out? And it was kind of funny. I was fishing with a friend of mine a few years back, and he had the same question. And so I said, well, let me see if I can go catch one and see if he can accommodate. And so I skipped way up under a dock, and sure enough, as soon as I started dragging it, I felt one bite it, reeled down, set the hook. It was a 3.5-pounder. And so, I mean, this fish is way up on. I'm probably 20, 25 feet under this dock. And it's a big dock on Smith Mountain Lake near where I live. Up here, if you got the zebra mussels or something like that, it's a different situation. But you can't put anything up under there and bring them out. But if if you don't have that situation, the best way to do it is to not put a lot of pressure on them. And like I set the hook on that fish, and I never reeled. I just kind of held the rod, and that fish started pulling, going one way. And then I could feel him coming back around one of the poles, and so I started reeling. And then he went around another pole, and he went around, I think it was 3 different poles on the way out from under that dock. And he went under another one, and I let him sit there. And I feel like that what they do is they'll only fight kind of as hard as you fight against them. And I know it's hard to do that because when you're excited, you want to just yank them and get them in the boat. But the harder you pull, the harder they pull. And if you just kind of hold them, especially when they get around one of those poles or a log or whatever it is, if you'll just hold them there, they'll figure out, they're like, oh, I can't, this is hard. And if they start swimming back the other way to come out from that pole, it's easier for them. And then so you can just kind of reel them and keep them coming. In theory, that sounds easy, but if you go out there and actually practice it, it does work. I mean, it really does work. You can get fish out of cover on light line if you don't get in a hurry. You just let them kind of pull against it and find their way out, and then just keep reeling. And my friend that I was showing that to, he couldn't believe it. He just couldn't believe that. He said, I can't believe that fish swam all the way out of the dock. I was like, well, he didn't just swim out of, we went around 3 different poles, but he just couldn't believe it. And because he's a big line fisherman. He likes to fish a jig around docks, and he's used to just cranking them out. And the same thing works for bigger line too. You land a lot more fish if you just kind of take your time getting them out of there. They're hitting the bait because of the action of the lure. And the lighter your line, especially when you're talking about having a bait off of the bottom that's pretty much kind of in open space, well, it's in the water, but open space in the water, not on the bottom, everything's amplified when that bait is out there in the middle of nowhere. It's amplified. So the heavier line you have, the more that line's going to restrict the movement, the natural movement of the bait. So if you've got lighter line, which I'm talking 6-pound is kind of almost my max really for the line size. That's why it allows that bait, that hook in the bait, and everything down there to move a lot more freely. And that's why line size is very important on the drop shot. And as far as the weight, I start with a 3/16, and I kind of go up or down from there. There's occasions where I'll throw a drop shot, around say riprap or something where it's real jagged, pretty shallow. I'll drop down to an 1/8 ounce, because if not, you'll stay hung up all the time. But you want to fish the weight that whether it's a drop shot or shaky head, you want to fish the weight that's heavy enough to where you can maintain bottom contact but not yet stay hung up.
Hey, I'm Pete Gluzek.
And I'm Mike Iaconelli.
And this is Bass University TV.
Welcome to Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Gluzek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests.
Everywhere I go in the country, I'm trying to use these techniques because I catch big fish that way.
From on the water to in the classroom,
We want to use that bait to help make that area even smaller and really find that sweet spot.
you'll learn sound techniques and strong fundamental bass fishing skills.
You want something that's got a nice limber action, that's going to allow you to build pressure and keep those hooks pinned against that fish's mouth.
Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time.
Hold on, because you're going to catch some big fish.
Information is power in the sport of fishing, so learn from the very best.
That's a key theory in all of fishing.
Subscribe to Bass University TV today.
Man, does it trigger a lot of strikes.
Here's the part that you're not going to hear anywhere else. This is the Bass University TV exclusive.